I, Miss Arundhati Patil from Gumfa Road Municipal Secondary English School, Jogeshwari East. Today, in our English grammar lecture, we are going to learn about the topic clauses, and our main topic is the dependent clause and its types. So let's start with our topic. In today's topic, we are going to see the following points like what is a clause, types of clauses, that is independent clause, dependent clause. Then our main topic is dependent clause and its types and some practice examples today we are going to learn. So let's start with our topic. First, before starting with our dependent clause, let's see what is a clause. What is meant by clause? So let's see the definition, that a clause is a group of related words used together as part of a sentence. It contains a subject and a verb. It has a complete meaning by itself. What definition we have seen? That a clause is a group of words related together. A clause is a group of related words used together as part of a sentence. It contains a subject and verb. It has a complete meaning by itself. Now let's see some examples. Let's see the first sentence. The first sentence is, he plays cricket regularly. Now, is it a clause? Just we will check it. Is it a group of words? If yes, it is. There is a subject plus verb combination plus complete meaning. All this we are going to see. The first sentence is what? See, he plays cricket regularly. Now, in this sentence, he plays cricket regularly. He is the subject. He is the subject. Then plays is the verb. Now see, there is a subject plus verb combination and it has a complete meaning. So this is a example of a clause. Second is example is, I graduated last year. Now I graduated last year. In this sentence, I is the second example, I graduated last year. Now in this, I is the subject and graduated is the verb. So again, there is a subject plus verb combination and it has a complete meaning. So this also is an example of clause. Third example we are going to see. Third example is, he is a wise man. Now again see, in this sentence, he is a wise man. Again, he is a subject, is a verb. Again, there is a subject plus verb combination plus complete meaning, that yes, he is a wise man. So this is also example of a clause. Fourth sentence, see, what is the fourth sentence? That John is my best friend. See the fourth example. Sorry. See, John is my best friend. Again, John is a subject, is the verb, and is my best friend is a group of words. Again, there is a subject plus verb combination, plus complete meaning, and all the sentences are having the group of words. So these are the examples of clause. So what we have seen in the clause, that a clause is a group of related words used together as part of a sentence. Then it contains subject plus verb and it has a complete meaning by itself. Now this we have seen about clause. Now let's see what are the types of clauses. Now see, clauses are mainly divided into two parts. Which are the two types of clauses? First one is independent clause and second one is dependent clause. Now, independent clause is also known as main clause and dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause. So, these are the two main types of clauses. First one is independent clause. Second one is dependent clause. Independent clause is also known as main clause and dependent clause is also known as a subordinate clause. Remember this. Okay. So now before starting in our main topic, let's see first what is mean by, let's see that now what is mean by the independent clause. Now see, first we'll see what is mean by independent clause. See the definition of independent clause. See, independent clause means what? They express a complete thought or idea. They can stand on their own. See, they express a complete thought or idea. They can stand on their own and doesn't need any other clause for its existence. Okay. So what are the three main points are there of independent clause? That they express a complete thought or idea. Complete thought or idea means they have a complete meaning by itself. They can stand on their own. They are independent and they doesn't need any other clause for in existence. For example, see, example is given that you may sit. Now you may sit. It has a complete thought that yes, you may sit. It the sentence stand on their own and the sentence doesn't need any other sentence help. Now you is the subject, sit is the verb and it has a complete meaning that you may sit. Second example, see. Now let's see the second example. See second one. See, Rohan wants to be an engineer. So he is pursuing higher studies in an engineering college. What is the example? See, Rohan wants to be an engineer. So he is pursuing higher studies in an engineering college. Now here see students, here are the two sentences. See both of these clauses can stand on their own. Which are the two clauses are there? Which are the two sentences are there? First one is Rohan wants to be an engineer. Okay. And what is the other one? He is pursuing higher studies in an engineering college. See here, which are the two sentences? See, first sentence is Rohan wants to be an engineer. This is our first sentence. And he is pursuing higher studies in an engineering college. Now, both the sentences have complete thought. They can stand on their own. Now, these are the independent clauses. They are separated by a comma and the conjunction so is used. So, these are the examples of independent clauses. That what examples we have seen, what definition we have seen, that see what examples we have seen here. See that independent clause, they express a complete thought or idea. They can stand on their own and they doesn't need any other clause for in existence. You may sit have the subject plus verb combination, and this clause is complete. It is independent. Second example, what we have seen, that Rohan wants to be an engineer. This is one clause. He is pursuing higher studies in an engineering college. This is another clause. It has been separated by a comma and conjunction so is used. So these are the examples of independent clause. Let's see. Now let's move with our main topic, that is dependent clause. I'll see the main, we will see this next slide, that is dependent clause. See, now first we will see what is meant by dependent clause. See the definition of dependent clause. See, a dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause. A dependent clause or subordinate clause is a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. Now see here, a dependent clause or subordinate clause is a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. The dependent clause doesn't have the complete meaning. Because why it cannot stand alone? Because it does not express a complete thought. It does not express a complete meaning. It is dependent on independent clause. Dependent clause is dependent on independent clause or main clause. Independent clause is known as a main clause for a complete thought. See again the definition, that what is the definition? See, a dependent clause or subordinate clause is a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. Because why it cannot stand alone? Because it does not express a complete thought, means meaning. It is dependent on which clause? Independent clause or main clause for a complete thought. A dependent clause has a combination of a subject and verb. Dependent clause also has a combination of subject and a verb. For example, see, you may sit. This is independent clause. Second one is wherever you like. It's a dependent clause. Now suppose students see, let's see this example. If we will write only this sentence, see, suppose we will write only this, that wherever you like. This sentence don't have any complete, this sentence is not complete. Okay, wherever you like. This sentence doesn't have any meaning. But if, see, there is a combination of subject and verb. See, wherever you like. Now you is the, see in this sentence, wherever you like, you, wherever you like, you is the subject, like is the verb. There is a combination of subject and verb, and whole sentence have meaning as well. But it is incomplete. But if we add main clause, then the sentence becomes complete. Okay, when we add this sentence, that you may sit wherever you like, then the sentence becomes a complete sentence and it has a complete thought, a complete meaning. So this dependent sentence, dependent clause is depended on which clause? Independent clause. What we have seen the definition, that a dependent clause is a clause that cannot stand alone. Now see, wherever you like, this sentence cannot stand alone, and but because it does not express a complete thought, it has a meaning of, it has a combination of subject and verb. It is dependent on which clause? Wherever you like. This sentence is dependent on which clause? This independent clause. Okay, so when we add this main clause, that you may sit wherever you like, then the sentence is completed. Okay, now let's see the second example. See, the second example is, see, the crew could see the well which had surface only 50 meters behind them. Now, if we are writing only this sentence, which had surface only 50 meters behind them, this sentence is a dependent clause, which is dependent on which sentence? The crew could see the well. This is the independent clause. So the crew could see the well is an independent clause, and which had surface only 50 meters behind them is a dependent clause. So which had surface only 50 meters behind them. From here, it is a dependent clause. Let's see the next example. See, third sentence. See, the excellence of a gift lies in how appropriate it is rather than how valuable it is. What is the example? See here. The excellence of a gift lies in how appropriate it is rather than how valuable it is. Now again, from rather than how valuable it is your dependent clause. Rather than how valuable it is a dependent clause, and the excellence of a gift lies in how appropriate it is a independent clause. Now this sentence, this clause, rather than how valuable it is dependent on which sentence, which clause? The excellence of a gift lies in how appropriate it is. Okay, now let's see the third example. See, before you go to bed, you have to finish your homework. Okay, now see here, students, there is one change. Before you go to bed, what doesn't have any meaning. It has the combination of subject and verb. You is the subject, go is the verb. Before you go to bed, so this is your dependent clause. When we add MCL means when we add main clause, that you have to finish your homework, then the sentence becomes a complete sentence, a complete meaning. So you have to finish your homework is your independent clause, and before you go to bed, it is your dependent clause. Okay, now see the next sentence. When I come home, you were in the party. Now, when I come home, see fifth one. When I came home, you were in the party. Now, when I came home, what had happened? If I write only this sentence, that when I came home. If we are writing only like this, when I came home. This is the dependent clause which is dependent on which sentence? You were in the party. Now, you were in the party is the independent clause. So these are the examples we have seen about the dependent clause. Now just we'll revise about it, that a dependent clause is also known as subordinate clause, is a clause which cannot stand alone, which cannot have its own meaning as a complete sentence, because it does not express a complete thought, and it is dependent on independent clause or main clause, and it has a dependent clause has a combination of a subject and verb. Examples we have discussed. Now we are going to see the next slide. The next slide is about dependent clause and its types. See, types of dependent clauses. Now, what are the types of dependent clauses? First one is noun clause, second one is adjective clause, and third one is adverb clause. So these are the three types of dependent clause: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. So let's discuss with our first type of clause. First type of dependent clause is noun clause. Now let's see the definition of noun clause. See, now what is the definition of noun clause? Let's see the definition first. Then we will move towards the example. See, a noun clause is a group of words which does the work of a noun with a subject and verb that functions as a noun in the sentence. What example, what definition we have seen? That a noun clause is a group of words which does the work of a noun with a subject and verb and functions as a noun in the sentence. Then second one, noun clauses begin with words like how, that, what, whatever, when, where, which, who, whoever, whom, why, whether, and whichever. So remember this, that noun clauses begin with words like how, that, what, whatever, when, where, which, who, whoever, whom, why, whether, and whichever. Now let's see the definition by explaining the examples. I will explain you the example. Now see, what is the first example? See, that you have come pleases me. Now in this sentence, see, that you have come pleases me. Now in this sentence, noun clause is a group of words. Now here, that you have come pleases me. Okay, you is the subject in this sentence. That you have come pleases me. You is the subject. Okay, come is the verb. What we have seen, that in the noun, what is there? That which does the work of a noun with a subject and a verb. Okay, so you is the subject, come is the verb, and pleases me, acting as a subject, pleases. So see, what we have seen, that noun clause begin with the words that, how, that, what, whatever, whoever. So that you have come is your noun clause. That you have come is your noun clause, acting as a subject, pleases. Okay, now see what we have seen. First we have to see the subject and the verb and the noun clause. So that you have come is your noun clause, which is acting as a subject, pleases. This is the first example. Second example, see, that she has won the prize surprise me. Now see the second example. See second example, see. See, that she has won the prize surprised me. Now in this sentence, she is the, in this clause, she is the subject, won is the verb. Which is the subject? She is the subject, won is the verb. Then surprise me, which is there, it acts as the subject of the verb surprise. See again, that she has won the prize surprise me. She is the subject, won is the verb, and surprise me, it acts as the subject of the verb surprise, and that she has won the prize is clause. That she has won the prize is your noun clause. Get it? Third example, see. I believe that I will pass the test. What is the third example? That I believe that I will pass the test. I is the subject, pass is the verb, and believe is object of the verb believe, and that I will pass the test is your noun clause. Okay, that I will pass the test is your noun clause. What examples we have seen? See here, first one is, see, that you have come pleases me, that she has won the prize surprise me, and I believe that I will pass the test. That you have come is your noun clause, you is the subject, come is the verb, and pleases me, act as the subject, acting as a subject, pleases. Second example is, that she has won the prize surprise me, she is the subject, won is the verb, that she has won the prize is your noun clause, and surprise me, it acts as the subject of the verb surprise. I believe that I will pass the test, that I is the subject, pass is the verb, that I will pass the test is your noun clause, and I believe is the object of the verb believe. So this we have seen about the first type of dependent clause is noun clause. Let's move toward the next type of dependent clause. So the next slide, the next one is adjective clause. Now what is the definition of adjective clause? See, adjective clauses are group of words that contain a subject and a verb. An adjective clause, also called as a relative clause. See, adjective clauses are group of words that contain a subject and a verb. This is your first point. The second point is, an adjective clause is also called as a relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or pronoun. That modifies means that describes a noun or pronoun. The adjective clause almost come right after the noun they modify. Adjective clause begins with. See, what are the definition? What are the points? That adjective clauses are group of words that contain a subject and a verb. Second, adjective clause, also known as a relative clause, and it is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or pronoun. Next, adjective clauses almost come right on the right side after the noun they modify. An adjective clause begins with relative pronouns like who, whom, whose, that, which. Adjective clause begins with the pronouns that, who, whom, whose, that, which. And relative adverbs like when, where, and why. These are the relative adverbs. Let's see with the examples. The first example is, my sister who lives in Mexico is a nurse. Now, in this sentence, my sister who lives in Mexico is a nurse. Okay. Now, in this sentence, your lives is your verb. Okay. Mexico is subject, which modifies noun sister. Okay. Sister is a noun. What we have seen definition, that my sister who lives. This is your dependent clause. Okay. Which modify the noun sister, and which is the subject and verb combination. Lives is a subject, Mexico is the lives is the verb, Mexico is the subject, which modifies noun sister, and it comes on the right hand side, the adjective clause, that is, who lives in Mexico is a nurse. This is your adjective clause. Get it? See what definition we have seen. The adjective clause is a group of words. Yes, it is a group of words that my sister who lives in Mexico is a nurse, which contains a subject and a verb. Yes, it has a subject and a verb. That lives is the verb, Mexico is the subject. It is also called a relative clause, and it is a dependent clause that modifies a noun. Here is which is the dependent clause, that my sister who lives is your dependent clause which modifies the noun. Which is the noun over here? Sister is the noun, and it begins with the relative pronoun, that is who, and it comes on the right hand side after the noun sister. It comes on the right hand side that who lives in Mexico is a nurse. This is your adjective clause. Second example, see, he that is down fear no fall. Now here, he that is down fear no fall, it modifies the pronoun he. What we have seen in definition, it either modifies a noun or pronoun. Now he is the pronoun, okay, down is the verb. See, he that is down fear no fall is your adjective clause which modifies the pronoun he. Third example, see, the umbrella which has a broken handle is mine. Now here, handle is the subject, broken is the verb, umbrella is the noun. See again, broken is your verb, handle is your subject, and umbrella is your noun. Okay, so which is your what? Relative pronoun. So which has a broken handle is mine is your adjective clause. Which has a broken handle is mine is your adjective clause which modifies the noun umbrella. So these are the examples of adjective clause. Again, see that adjective clause are group of words that contain a subject and a verb, and adjective clause are also known as relative clause. It is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or pronoun. Adjective clause almost come right after the noun they modify, and it begins with the relative pronouns like who, whom, whose, that, which, and the adverbs like relative adverbs like when, where, and why, and the three examples which we have discussed. Now let's see the next type of dependent clause. The third and the last type of dependent clause is the adverb clause. Now let's see first the definition of adverb clause. What is the definition? That an adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. What is the example? See, an adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. It begins with a subordinating conjunctions like after, if, although, because, unless, as if. Okay. See, adverb clause begins with a subordinating conjunctions like after, if, although, because, unless, as if. Third, an adverb clause tells how, when, where, why, or under what condition the action occurs. So what is the definition of our adverb clause? That an adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb. It begins with a subordinating conjunctions like after, if, although, because, unless, as, if. An adverb clause tells how, when, where, why, or under what condition the action occurs. Let's discuss the examples. First example is I will eat my broccoli after I eat this cookie. Huh? Now see, I will eat my broccoli after I eat this cookie. Now after is your subordinating conjunction. So your adverb clause is after I eat this cookie is your adverb clause modifying the verb will eat. Huh? See, it is a subordinate clause. So it starts with a subordinate conjunction, that is after I eat this cookie is your adverb clause and will eat is your verb which modifying the verb will eat. Second example, see, he talks as though he has seen it all. Second example, he talks as though he has seen it all. Now here he is your subject, seen is your verb. Again see, it starts with a subordinating conjunction as. So as though he has seen it all is your adverb clause which describing the action of talking. Which describes the action of the it. See, last definition, see that under what condition the action occurs. So here the talking action is described, describing the action of talking. So as though he has seen it all is your adverb clause. Third example, the rabbit didn't stop hopping until he go back to his hole. Now again here the subordinating conjunction until he got back to his hole is your adverb clause. Okay, so we have seen the examples of adverb clause and definition. What examples we have seen? That an adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, subject, or another adverb. It begins with the subordinating conjunctions like after, if, although, because, unless, as, if, and it tells how, when, where, why, or under what condition the action occurs. So here we have completed with the dependent clause and its types. We have seen first that what is a clause, types of clauses, that is independent and dependent clause. Then we have discussed about the definition of independent clause and its types, its examples. Then we have discussed about dependent clause, its definition, examples, and its types. First one is noun clause, second one is adjective clause, and third one is adverb clause. Now here are the some examples we will discuss. It is the practice examples for your homework. Let's discuss. First one, see, I know where the treasure is. What is the example? I know where the treasure is. Now in this sentence, first sentence, see, I know where the treasure is. The treasure is your subject, is your verb, okay, and where the it has a subject plus verb combination, and it has been started with the where. So I know where the treasure is. So where the treasure is your noun clause. This is your noun clause. Second, say, I fear that I will fail. Second example, I fear that I will fail. In this sentence, again, I is the subject, fail is the verb, and that I will fail is your noun clause. Third example, students who are intelligent get good grades. Intelligent is your subject, get is the verb, and who are intelligent get good grades It starts with the who, so it is a adjective clause. Students who are intelligent, which modifies the noun students. Students who are intelligent get good grades. Third one, there is the mountain that we are going to climb. We is the subject, climb is the verb. That we are going to climb is your adjective clause which modifies the noun mountain. Fifth example, we played in the garden until the sunset. Here again, played is the verb. Until the sunset, until is starting the from subordinating conjunction. This is a adverb clause, okay, which modifies the verb, which tells the action of playing, which the verb played. They rested when the evening came. Now, evening is the subject, came is the verb. When the evening came is the adverb clause. Describe the verb rested. So these are the examples which you have to solve in your notebook for homework. It is some two examples of noun clause, two examples of adverb clause, and two examples of adjective clause. Okay. Now let's discuss what we have seen. What we have seen in this topic. Just we will revise over it. See, first we have seen what is a clause, that it is a group of related words used together as a part of a sentence. It contains a subject and a verb, and it has a complete meaning by itself. And examples we have discussed over here. Next, we have seen the types of clauses. Independent clause is also known as main clause, and dependent clause is also known as a subordinate clause. Then we have seen independent clause definition, that it has a complete thought or idea. They can stand on their own and they doesn't need any other clause for in existence. Dependent clause is also known as a subordinate clause. It is a clause that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence because it does not express a thought. It is dependent on independent clause or main clause for complete thought or meaning. Next, types of dependent clauses we have seen. First, we have seen noun clause, that it is a group of words which does the work of a noun with a subject and verb, and that functions as a noun in the sentence. Noun clause begins with the words how, that, what, whatever, when, where, which, who, whoever, whom, why, whether, whichever. Then adjective clause, second type, it is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb, and it is also known as a relative clause which modifies a noun or pronoun. Adjective clause almost come right after the noun they modify, and it begins with the relative pronouns who, whom, whose, that, which, and the relative adverbs when, where, and why. Then an adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a verb, subject, or another adverb, and it begins with a subordinating conjunctions like after, if, although, become, because, unless, as if, and it tells how, when, where, why, or under what condition the action occurs. And the examples we have discussed, two examples of noun clause, the two examples of adjective clause, and two examples of adverb clause. So here we have completed with the topic noun, dependent clause and its types.
Hello?
So shall I stop over here?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you
Okay,
so
shall I
much, ma'am.
leave? Okay, thank you,
Yes,
sir.
sure.
Okay, thank you, students.
स्टूडेंट्स हम यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा ब्रेक ले रहे हैं, उसके बाद 8:55 को मैथ्स का लेक्चर स्टार्ट होगा, तो हम यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा ब्रेक ले रहे हैं. थैंक यू.